Welcome back to Chill Under Pressure. I'm Les.
I'm John.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Leah.
Hi, Leah.
Welcome
Hello.
to the show, Leah.
Great to have you back on. Solo this time.
You. I know. I am normally the quiet one, so we'll see.
Not
see what happens.
So, yeah, Keely's actually sitting over here. She wants to see how it goes.
Perfect. I don't blame her. She's just going to pop in next to you.
No, we said that's a no-go. So, great to have you back. How you been?
Thank you. I've been doing really well. Just, as you guys know, living through what I call reporting season, which is now 7 months of the year instead of, 3 or 4 months of the year. So it's been good.
I always thought it was really just like tax season kind of,
Right.
It started in January, but really ended by mid-April, but that's not the case, huh?
I think there could definitely be some advantages to everything being on the same timeline. At the same time, there's so much, it is kind of nice to spread it out a little bit so you have some breathing room. But I would love just like one date, everything has to be done and not, take it up 7 months of the year.
Do you get to go to the IRS and say, per the EPA regulations, I need to file my taxes at this time because I'm doing all the reporting for these other entities during this time? It does not work that way.
I wish there was something like that, but if you try and bring up those types of things, the different regulatory agencies don't necessarily care.
That's a you problem.
That's your problem, not their problem.
So we just dove right into reporting season and so on. So you are, we want to get into a little bit more about Leah too. But just to give a little background on the reporting season, you work at RMS.
Yes. Yep. I work for a company called Refrigerant Management Solutions. And my company, basically, we help end users transition to environmentally friendly refrigerants, also work on implementing best practices, and then handling compliance, which part of that includes all the different regulatory reporting types of things that we were just talking about.
So your typical end user, you said kind of end users, what industry segment, or is it kind of, you have folks across the board, or is it mostly food retail? Is it mostly where does it land?
Yeah, it's mostly food retail, some warehousing type of companies as well. We also have our focus has been, because there is so much work there to be done, kind of the retail food industry, but we've also had the opportunity to work with a lot of different software companies on compliance requirements and things like that, including FM Hero, and then also some OEMs, manufacturers of equipment, the requirements there. Our parent company is DC Engineering, which is an engineering firm. And so even on the design side, in which refrigerants are prohibited in different applications. So kind of a broad range of areas, but our primary focus has been on retail facilities, grocery stores, supermarkets, things like that.
Interesting. You tied in, you go through best practices and compliance, right? And so curious, just how far does best practices go towards keeping you in compliance?
It depends on how you set them up. Ideally, sometimes too, even when we think of best practices, it could be something, these regulations are so complicated, and especially when you're having to overlay jurisdictional, state, and federal requirements, sometimes the best practices are doing something, maybe that's most stringent to just keep you safe across all of those that, you may not be required to do, like leak inspections, for example, or installing automatic leak detection systems, repairing your leaks, within 14 days, because that's what's required.
Washington or California.
Yeah, Washington, New York, California versus 30 days. And also then with that, if you're allowing it to just continue to leak, the longer you allow it to leak, the more you're going to be paying for that refrigerant. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the more
for sure.
dollars is leaking out of your equipment.
100%.
yeah,
Like, and the more you're paying for your utilities, and like,
yeah,
there's a whole lot of stuff that gets piled onto that, right?
yeah, yeah.
So I have a question, because this is something we've been talking about. So if I'm an equipment owner, right, and we're trying to implement these best practices to keep in compliance, if the technician in-house or outside, if they're not compliant, is it possible for me to be compliant as the equipment owner?
No. And the reason I say that is because, you know, a lot of the liability, even like if it's your internal tech or you have a third party technician, that liability falls on the owner. You know, it's their responsibility to make sure they have people doing this work that is required. So, while technicians, like if, you know, there's some sort of gross negligence, you know, they're illegally, intentionally venting refrigerant, you know, the EPA would go after somebody for that. But for the most part, a lot of these enforcement actions are on the end users, and that, you know, liability and stuff and is not transferred to the third party company that is actually performing the work. And so it can be very challenging because those technicians, that's like 90% of compliance, right? Making sure
Mhm.
that they are carrying out the required field practices, but then
And
also
documenting
making
them.
sure they're documenting
Yeah.
those. So,
Yeah. You know, we hear that a lot, is like, well, that's our contractor's responsible for that. And yeah, well, then that falls on the tech. So everything starts with the technician in the field at the piece of equipment doing the actual work. And
And
yeah,
then it flows up.
if they don't do the work, you can't be compliant. If they
Right.
do it, but they didn't write it down, you can't be compliant. You don't even know what happened.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I mean, it all starts from that person in the field standing at the unit. And like you say, if they're not doing compliant work, whether that be not documenting or not doing it properly, correctly, on time, whatever, then the equipment owner can never be. And yet they carry most of the cost.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so the process of best practice is you have to make sure that it's being done at that technician level. Like, you have to have a
100%.
process that you can verify that
Yeah,
that work is being done in the field at the time it's being done.
yep. And I do think it is very common for end users to think like, oh, you know, if the EPA reaches out or if one of these agencies reach out, I'll just, you know, go to my contractor and get the info.
Right.
If you haven't tried doing that before you get in the situation where a regulatory agency is asking for it, you should try doing it yourself and see what type of information you are able to get from them.
And how
And
fast. And
how
Right.
fast, what it looks like when, and you know, if you're in a situation where a regulatory agency is asking for this, you don't have a lot of time to respond, and you don't want to find yourself in a situation where that's when you're realizing how many violations you have because you had been reliant on them to be doing things and keeping the documentation and that type of stuff.
Yeah. So that the prescription, or what you're prescribing here, is that you basically audit the companies you're using to do your work occasionally and see what they have. You're
100%. And your own internal processes, you know, like for example, leak inspections, you know, that are required at these certain frequencies. Does your company, like, how are those work orders issued to your contractors? Are you issuing those on time? Does the work order, when you're issuing it, are you issuing it at the right time? Is your due date on that work order the right time frame? Are your contractors actually performing it by that due date? So I think it's definitely good to look at both your internal practices as well as then what your external companies are doing too, to verify, you know, everything is on track. And if something did come up, you wouldn't, you know, be in crisis mode, finding
So
all this stuff out at the last second.
let me put a scenario together that like I think I know the answer to, based on the way I've read things, but I'm not. You guys are. I mean, this is what you do. Like, you're experts in helping clients stay compliant and file paperwork properly and on time and so on. Right? You call it reporting season.
And if he's wrong, I get a free lunch. So,
Ooh, did we have some bets? Did we write down the answer?
Well, I'm going to listen to Leah's answer before I say. So what's going to happen is whatever you say, I'm like, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. That's exactly right. So in a scenario where you have a system that has enough refrigerant of a refrigerant type that requires the regulatory burden. So we'll just say it's a rack for whatever. So that there's no question that this is a regulated appliance, and somebody goes out and works on it and adds refrigerant, let's just say, and the leak loss rate exceeds, it's twice. It's federal. We'll go with you're in Arizona, right? You're not even in one of the really tough states, right, for this. Mm-hmm. And so it's, you get up at 22%, like after that charge event happens. And the paperwork lingers. Technician doesn't turn it in. He goes on vacation, forgot to turn his clipboard in, or whatever the reason is, it doesn't get to the contractor on time. The contractor maybe takes their time to get it over. Finally, it's been 37 days. It gets to the equipment owner and they get this document. They're like, oh, we need to get this fixed right away. And get do the repair process, find the leaks and so on. At that point, like, so let's just say they do all that. Are they required to retrofit or retire that appliance anyway? Because I guess the question is, there's a 30-day window, and if you didn't file for an extension and you missed the window, what is the rule about that?
Well, so in general, you're just out of compliance with everything, because even if you elect to retrofit or retire your appliance instead of make the repair within 30 days, your retrofit or retirement plan has to be signed and dated within that first initial 30-day period. So you're just out of compliance across the board, and then it's the company's decision of how they want to move forward with that, what they think would be the right thing to do.
So, yeah, and I think to Adam's larger point, not knowing that charge event happened on that day and waiting for paperwork can put you out of compliance just because you didn't get the information, or you got it 2 days before and you couldn't get everything done in 2 days. Yeah. So regardless of whether you had the
to violation in the same moment, because you found out about the exceedance and you realize the time has passed, you're already in violation land. Yeah, at the same moment.
And it's nothing you did as the organization. Right. Your in-house tech or your outside contractor didn't get you the information quick enough.
And that's under the 30-day scenario. I mean, if we're not even talking about the 14-day or whatever else. So that's pretty wild.
And that's where it's like, best practices. I mean, my immediate question would be, why did they add that much refrigerant and not find and stop the leak? Whether, they isolated and bypassed just that section that was leaking to stop it. Like, why are they just out there adding refrigerant and walking away? That's one of the things, like, best practices. Don't walk away. Find that leak.
It was 2 in the morning. I was tired. I just had to get it done. I wanted to go back to bed. I put 134 in the 22 rack just because I just didn't care. And I just went to bed.
La 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 la.
Yeah, right. It's rough. It's rough. There's so many best practices go so far. I mean, we have so many stories. We were in the recovery business forever, and we'd come to jobs and you'd talk to some of these guys and they're like, well, that one was low on gas and this one had plenty in the receiver, so I just piped them together and shoved some gas across. You're like, oh my word. Like, you have no idea how much you moved. You have no idea. Like, there's nothing about that.
Or they just hooked up hoses from one system to another, and it's like,
Yep. We're just going to let that flow. Let it flow from one to the other to get the leak alarm or the low refrigerant alarm to stop. And,
anyway, and rough. I get, like, I admire the technicians so much, because a year or two ago, I attended one of the CO2 trainings that the North American Sustainable Refrigeration Council puts on, NASRC, and all the different technologies and types of systems. I mean, I admire them because I can only imagine everything they're having to learn, everything they're having to deal with. We know there's a shortage of technicians.
Yeah.
And that ice cream can't melt.
No, they're absolutely not. You cannot have products lost. So, so I get it, but.
Yeah, that's to give you a shameless plug for Hero. I mean, that's why we built Hero the way we did. The whole idea is we know nobody wants to do paperwork. They want to fix it. They want to move on. They want to just keep going with their job. But having a way to capture that documentation quickly and efficiently and completely, thoroughly is really, is really our what we set out to build.
Notification in real time.
Yeah, and notifying in real time the equipment owner and the contractor all at the same time, same piece of information is super.
I thought you were going to say we built it because of ice cream.
Well, save the ice cream.
Yeah. Cannot have ice cream loss. However, like with all the regulations, like canned food and, freeze-dried stuff is sounding pretty nice.
Well, I think, being in the food retail space for so long, we've done recovery, we've done gas sales, reclamated products to the end users. It's funny because when we have those conversations with the end users, a lot of times we get that my contractor is the expert, that I rely on them. Oh, okay. So, we walk over to the contractor and say, hey, here's what we're seeing. And are you doing all this compliance work for these end users? And they said, I don't know. We just do what they tell us to do. Right. Mm-hmm. So there's this finger pointing. Right. Yeah. And so there's this knowledge-based gap, from the end users. What's our responsibility? What are we supposed to do? And it's almost like a punt to the contractor side. And the contractors, they're just trying to move trucks, stay in business, get the job done so that they can keep on pace with what they're tasked to do already. Mm-hmm. And so FM Hero, well, shoot, anything that would try to help knock down those silos so that we can see a full scope of what everybody's doing, build that history, know where our gas is going. And like you said, every minute that system's leaking is not only a GWP concern, it's a money issue as well. So
you're buying that pound.
Yeah,
you're buying every one of those, every ounce that's going out the leak is just throwing away money.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Leah,
good
what
topic.
are you? I'm gonna.
You gonna jump to that?
I was just like we jumped right into all the heavy business talk.
I like it.
Right what do you? Who is Leah outside of RMS?
Oh gosh, outside. Well, so I joke with everyone that my hobbies are kids, sports, and work because that's all I do. I work a lot, and then I have 3 children that 2 are in high school, 1 is out of the house, but all do extracurricular activities, and my husband is a teacher and a baseball coach. So if I'm not working, I'm usually attending soccer games or baseball games or a concert, a band concert, things like that.
I'm part of that club too. I'm part of the sports, the kids, work.
Yeah. And that's between that. And then I have 8 chickens and 3 dogs. So just family
time. Do the chickens and the dogs get along? Or is this like a
part of your job is keeping the dogs from eating the chickens?
That's what I'm wondering.
I used to have to do that. Our newest dog is part Chihuahua, and he's not the nicest thing I've ever met. But so he'll chase one of them around. Her name is Patrick. Named after
you put
cereal
Tabasco on their wings, so when he bites, it's like.
No, I did get a bag to carry one of the chickens around because she likes to hang out, but
all right. like the feet are coming through the bag and you're just toting the chicken around. It looks like
a grocery sack with a handle and there's 2 feet and
Oh, that's funny. Are you showing up to the soccer games with that?
Oh, that would be amazing.
I might at some point.
That'd be amazing.
It might be worth it just for the looks.
Or even just walking around town. Like I should probably just go walk down like a main street here carrying it. It would be kind
Adam
of
just said we need a picture.
We need a picture. Yeah. You're gonna have to give us a picture so we can put that in so we can see this thing while we're watching this episode.
Yeah. I'll send you guys one. But awesome. So just just work and kids sports, family, and pets.
Empty nesters coming soon, right?
Ooh, yeah, high school.
Yeah, in theory we have about 4 years if they decide to leave. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, that's true.
So how in the world,
may or may not be crossed.
How in the world did you get into the refrigerant side of this whole game? I mean, it's so specific, you know, how did you even fall into something like this?
Yeah. So I joined DC Engineering 16 years ago. I've been with the company for 16 years. And at the time I was just hired as like a part-time office administrator. And my other part-time, I was working at a methadone clinic, which could probably be a whole separate podcast of interesting stories. But
let's go
down there. Let's go down that road.
We think we just found your third round, what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, all the things. But I started getting involved with our commissioning team who was doing commissioning on retail facilities. And I was working with them. This was like way back in the day before there was much AI and things. So I would transcribe notes and prepare commissioning reports and kind of learned a lot about refrigeration from the design side doing that, as well as then working with the commissioning team. And we ended up having a client who didn't think their contractors were doing everything necessary to meet the federal Section 608 requirements, and then what at that time was coming up for CARB. And so asked us to take a look, and we did, and found that yes, they were right. didn't quite have everything that was needed, especially in preparation for CARB. And so kind of asked us to develop a program for it and help them with it. And so started doing that, stayed in the part-time refrigerant management, refrigerant compliance, part-time like management of resources and projects for the commissioning team. And then through that also, I was able to get some experience doing like programming and systems integration. And so learning even more about the refrigeration systems. And then it got to the point that there was so much work on the compliance and management side that moved over solely into that. And then I think on, the last podcast Keely may have mentioned, she came back to join our company. And right now we have 6 full-time people on the team just for RMS that work on all of this. So just through the work with DC Engineering, one of the retail clients we had is kind of what got it started. And then through word of mouth and other projects and seeing the need in the industry for something like this, that's kind of how we've developed and grown. Yeah.
You're right now, at least currently, I think, an all ladies club over on your team, right?
There you go.
We have one male.
Oh, all right.
We were for quite a long time. We do have one male. His name's Aiden. He's fantastic.
Nice. Finally found a guy who could keep up. That's
he tolerates all of us. It's amazing. I don't know how he does it, but
it's impressive.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know how many people would be up for that challenge, especially with some personalities, but he nails it.
Yeah, Kirsten has to tolerate all of us. It's the opposite over here.
Yeah.
If you ever want to come hang out over here for a while.
We're going to cut that off the record.
Yeah,
we're stricken that from the record. Kirsten, plug your ears. No, don't go anywhere.
Not to keep, just to hang out.
Just hang out. We're just buddies.
There's not a lot of people in this industry who know the rules the way that you all do. And I'm sure that's a very tough thing to find when you're trying to expand the team to meet the demand.
Yeah. There's very few people. A lot of the people that we work with that do know, some of them would be on the contractor side that we've been working with for several years that are those people responsible for providing the records and stuff. But but obviously you you don't want to take them away from the contractor company because they're kind of the glue over there on that side of things. But
Right.
yeah, it's very niche area and it takes a lot of work to get up to speed with everything. There's just all the differences and nuances and
then there's new things regularly
oh yeah,
to
all
add
the
on.
same.
One
And you get
thing,
federal regulations, and then they may change, and
yeah.
then states will bring on more regulations. So I think Keeley jokes I'm like a walking encyclopedia, and I used to be able to just rattle everything off, but there's so much now and how it's all being phased in. It's very challenging to just remember all of it.
Yeah. Well, we have questions. We're talking about, we call you guys up,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, we're like, oh, we know who will know, and they can add to this conversation. And one of them, I think, are you going to ask about the food retail space on the light commercial?
Yeah, I've got another quiz.
Oh, another scenario
here.
Yeah.
I said I was joking when I said before the podcast that I'm just going to pepper you with questions like this, but
I like it.
I am. We get a question all the time, and it applies to HVAC side predominantly. It doesn't have to, I suppose, but where you have a system that is 15 pounds, right? The rules in AIM came online on January 1 that they've lowered a threshold. Well, it's a whole new threshold, but effectively it feels like lowering the threshold to 15 plus pounds. This is targeted at HFCs and substitutes. So this is not for Leah's sake. She knows exactly what I'm talking about, but for the rest of you listening, and this new rule came out, and we get the question a lot. It says that there's an exclusion for residential and light commercial. And so the question really is, where do we find a definition of light commercial? Like, is it a specific size? I mean, they already said 15 pounds. So is it a tonnage rating? Is it where do we find a definition for this? Because I can't find one
Where's the line
in the CFRs, but
Yeah, no, there isn't a clear definition that really makes sense to a lot of folks. I know the EPA has been doing their best to try and address these questions on their FAQ page that they have for the AIM Act. But, in my personal opinion, the answers they've given still have not provided enough clarity for the industry to be certain on whether they would fall under these regulations or not. And I think part of the confusion comes in, if any of you are familiar with the EPA SNAP program, Significant New Alternatives Policy Program, that basically says which refrigerants are acceptable or unacceptable for retrofit and new applications. Residential and light commercial air conditioning is in one category over there, and like retail food air conditioning falls under that SNAP category. But then when you bring it over into these other regulations and they're not using the terminology the same, it can be very confusing. So initially, I think everybody thought, oh, great, my HVAC doesn't apply because it's like commercial air conditioning, I guess.
It's retail. I'm retail. I'm retail. I'm excluded, right? It's just they talk about retail, so that's me. I claim it.
Yeah, but they, our understanding and the stuff that we've read, and again, our kind of focus is to avoid potential enforcement action. So we always go on the safer side of things. And, so keeping that in mind, and some of the things the EPA has said during webinars or published, it does seem like, if you're a grocer, you have a grocery store, you have an HVAC system that contains 15 pounds or more of HFC, that, it really was the EPA's intent to include those with these regulations.
Yeah, for so long, I think the industry just adopted that 50-pound rule for so long as that divider, right? And so I even made the argument to Adam and Les. I'm like, well, I mean, if we're going to follow that logic, I mean, we could even bring that down to the 15-pound. If you want to make a dividing line or a definition, I don't know if that's a appropriate thing or not, but yeah.
It's just, to me, it's an interesting argument that I think, when we're talking about it, we're like, well, look, by the time that you're having to ask the question, it's too late. Like if you're in a debate with the EPA or the regulator over whether or not you are or are not light commercial, you've already lost, and the lawyers are already winning, because you're going to spend money to try to defend that position. People say, well, yeah, but I'll do that. Well, okay, you have fun with that. I mean, being compliant isn't that hard, and you want to save this refrigerant from going to the atmosphere anyway, because it's expensive.
Well, then if you lose, right, the fine scale of $60,000 roughly, right,
just under,
not including
per
your cost
day
of fighting it per day per violation, right? Like, how much would it have cost you just to report on this? Like, you'll be more profitable doing that, which is what we argue all the time. If you took the regulations out of it and you just looked at it from a financial perspective, of course it makes sense to maintain your unit.
I've never understood that, with leak rates being like 20. I don't know what the number is. And in fact, I don't think anybody really knows the number at this point. But if we're going back to Green Chills, they published a thing way back when, but maybe when Keeley was still there, I don't know. But anyway, they talked about 25% was what they estimated the industry average to be. Wow. And if that's still the case today, it blows my mind that you're willing to lose 25% of the refrigerant volume every year. The cost of that is so high, not just the gas, but the extra service calls, the energy costs. Like, why is that a good financial decision, as opposed to find the problem, fix the problem, and stop the leak? I mean, if I had a leaking water main, I would not just let it, or my toilets just ran and ran and ran and never stopped running. I would fix it, because it's not that hard to fix it compared to the cost of the water. And that water's cheap compared to refrigerant. Anyway, there was my rant.
Nice rant. I like it.
Yeah, no, and I think there's, from, the owner's perspective, there's a lot of different reasons, not wanting to take stuff offline, wanting to still be able to sell out of it. That can sometimes, depends on who at the company you're talking to, what they prioritize in different areas. And Keeley may have mentioned this last time we were on, but the milk calculator that she came up with the EPA, for those that are kind of worried about how much product they'd be able to sell out of that case that you may be taking offline or something until you can get a part, that can kind of give you visibility into, well, I mean, you're going to have to sell 20,000 gallons of milk. Is that reasonable? Or
drink up?
Is it worth it?
That's a lot of milk.
It's a lot of milk.
It's a cool calculator. I remember when that came out way back, and looking at it, I'm like, whoever thought of this is brilliant, because it puts it right into the terms of the retailer. Okay, well, I can't afford to stop selling out of that one case right now, or that section. And it's like, well, can you afford to keep selling out of it? I mean, that's what it really comes down to.
Right.
Yeah. I teach with people, like, put some beach balls in it. Let's sell beach balls out of it. Everybody likes beach balls. I don't know.
I mean, put flowers in it, put anything there. I mean, you can use the space. So, do it.
It's just interesting, because on the light commercial stuff, it's not really even a question. Everyone just wants to make the statement, like with blinders on, go, no, it's light commercial. We don't have to do that. Well, maybe you should investigate that a little. Maybe you should look at the downside of not doing it. There's a lot of it, but it's more like they just want to make it's in a gray area, so we're going to go with the fact we don't have to do anything.
That's a really expensive choice if you lose.
And so that's why we want to ask you, because you know regulations better than anyone in this room. And more than the people telling us they're light commercial and they don't need to do it.
I would say that it could be worded more clearly, but to be safe, and what our understanding is, based on conversations with the EPA, their intent is to include that. And again, rather be safe than sorry. And it's one thing for the fines; those can be significant amounts, but for those people who haven't gone through an enforcement action, the stress of that and how it does, companies don't have teams just sitting around waiting for an enforcement action. They're having to stop everything else they're doing, focus all their time on the enforcement action, providing that information. It's very stressful. It's not something that's resolved overnight. Like, they take years.
It's interesting you brought up the lost opportunity associated with it. Like now you have to focus on this, which means you're losing out on opportunity that if you were just doing it before, you just taken that, we're going to bring that in and we're going to do it best practices and be in compliance, then you don't lose those opportunities.
No.
Yeah.
And you're not bringing somebody in who's like, oh, okay, you're doing checkout and we need some bodies here, so you're going to be our compliance person. Like, you're talking about high level individuals who have to think about and protect the organization. What should they say? What shouldn't they say? What should they provide? What shouldn't they provide? Right? Like, I mean, man, I highly recommend getting help if you get in that spot. Don't go that alone. There's so much risk.
That's so good that you guys, in fact, all of this is what RMS does so well. I think you guys put on a webinar. How often do these webinars come on?
At least monthly, right?
At least monthly. Yeah.
At least monthly. Yeah. So I think it's a fantastic resource. I think Keely went over what to do on if you had an audit coming in or get a letter. She broke that down very specifically. And I thought that was a very, something that isn't talked about a lot. You know, what happens if this happens? You know, what is it going to, who are they going to go to? I think she said they're going to go to the grocer kid stocking.
Yeah, whoever
the
they
grocers.
can find, the first person they find.
Can you tell us a little bit more about those webinars and what they're bringing? Oh, sorry.
I was just going to, before you answer the question, you have to laugh.
I want to say I took the last one.
Hey!
And then I actually just put it in my certifications tablet in the FM Hero app, so I can have that certification right in my profile.
Yeah, for all of these trainings, we provide that certificate that you attended. But again, it's just an area that's so complex, and a lot of people don't understand or heard one thing from someone, but then how it actually applies to their business can be so different. So we do some live trainings. We try and make sure those are done at least once a month. The team has been so busy. Keely's been great about holding those. As the year progresses, you'll see other members of the team doing those as well. So I think I have one on, I think, New York requirements.
Oh, wow. I'll be there.
Yeah, when is that one?
I'll be there.
I have to look on I can send you a link. Our website has a link to all of our live trainings, and those give you an opportunity to ask questions and stuff at the end. And then we also have recorded trainings that people can watch on demand. So if you're not able to attend one of our live trainings, you can go to our site and sign up and take an on-demand training. And we cover all sorts of different topics. So like the enforcement readiness is probably what you're talking about. EPA, like the chronically leaking appliances, EPA retrofit and retirement plan requirements, California's requirements. So a lot of just different areas of compliance, and kind of break it down into sections that are digestible for folks.
I wonder if we could link those through our website.
Yeah, that will.
But I mean, just for the training aspect and a knowledge base. But we're already coming up on a close. That went really fast.
I still have more questions, so we're gonna have to do it again, and we need to hear about the methadone stuff too. So this is happening
yes. The one thing I wanted to mention to folks, in addition on the air conditioning side, because we see a lot of confusion on this in the industry. For like packaged rooftop units, for example, a lot of those have multiple independent refrigerant circuits inside of them. The refrigerant, never mixes between those two circuits. Those are considered separate appliances. We see a lot of folks that when they get the information, they're taking the total sum of the circuits and they're saying that's their charge size, which then usually puts them well over the 15-pound threshold. But a lot of times, and this happened more so when we had the 50-pound threshold, but if you are actually tracking to the level you're supposed to, that appliance level, so independent refrigerant circuit, you can sometimes be below that threshold, and then you wouldn't have to comply regardless. So
Yeah. So each circuit that is its own refrigerated appliance.
Its own appliance, independent, where the refrigerants never mix.
That term circuit is interesting in our industry because we use it for like evaporative circuits on a rack. Well, they're all tied together, right? So those evaporative circuits are not the same thing as an independent circuit like what Leia's talking about. But if you see a nameplate that's got circuit 1, circuit 2, and it lists each refrigerant type and each weight separately, those are completely independent circuits, and those are appliances to the EPA. We have the same thing in Hero, and it's like people migrate these things together in their mind, and it's like, I know, because you walk up and it's one unit that you think this is one appliance, but really it's not. There's 2 appliances hidden inside there.
Right.
And so, in the app, we're doing leak loss tracking on each independent circuit. Of course, the unit comes up as a whole, and you scan it, you find that unit, and then you say, I'm working on circuit A or circuit B, and you define which one you're working on and go from there. So
great.
Yeah, that's a really good call out. Good point.
Yep.
And it does make a difference if you're 12 pounds and 14 pounds, then cool, that unit doesn't apply because they're both under.
Woohoo!
Right.
It's still a good idea to fix it and not let it leak, but at least you don't have to be worried about audit trail on that.
That whole best practices thing.
That's right.
That's right.
Awesome. Thank you, Leia, for coming on and even like that last nugget. You're like, hey, I can't let your people leave without knowing this. Awesome. Like, I love it.
Yeah, we still see that today. It's a big topic for folks. So whatever we can do to try and help out there.
Awesome.
That was
very
great.
good. Well, hey, thanks everyone for joining us again on Chill Under Pressure. I'm Les.
I'm John.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Leia.
We'll see you next time on Chill Under Pressure.
Thanks.